welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be making a very simple bird box following the design from the RSPB. Now I'm not following it exactly, I'm using 18mm ply and adjusting some measurements where I see fit, but all in all it's essentially going to be very similar to their design. Now my brother's going to have a go at making a bird box. He doesn't do any woodworking, so it should be a good challenge for him. I've got a 1.4 metre plank of plywood here, 18mm thick, that he can use. You only actually need about 1.33 metres of plywood, or whatever wood you choose to use, but I'm giving him a bit of extra so he can have a practice cut and things like that. And luckily these are just some offcuts I had lying around that were about 160mm wide. This is 155mm wide, which allows us to sand things and adjust it where necessary. So I'm now going to show you some of the tools we're going to need to build the bird box, the bare necessities you're going to need, and then we'll get stuck in building this bird box. So let's get going. So here are the tools you're going to need to build a bird box. Now you're going to need something to be able to cut your pieces to size. I've got a panel saw here. Then you're going to need a way to be able to fasten the pieces together. Now you have two options. You can either use a hammer and some nails, or you can use some screws and a drill. And then obviously you'll need to drill a pilot hole, which is what the drill bits are there for. Then a way to be able to mark everything out. Now there's many options here. You can use a tape measure, a steel ruler, or just any ruler, or you can use a square. I prefer to use these, I like them a lot, but to be honest, a ruler would do fine, a panel saw would do fine, and a hammer and nails would do fine. And to be honest, that's all you actually need to be able to build it. But things that will help you are some clamps and something to be able to hold the wood on. I've got a fold down workbench here. A tenon saw might be helpful as well. Something to finish the bird box with. Now this is up for debate. Some people don't finish them, some people do. I'm not sure if I will yet. Some glue, you may want just put a bit of glue around it just to help keep it all together. Some sandpaper to knock off any sharp edges on the timber. And then you'll need a 1.33 metre length. I'm building this on a similar sort of scale to the RSPB's bird box. So let's say for example I wanted to mark a 120mm line from this line to this dot here. So as you can see, that's 120mm. So there's many ways to mark a 90-degree line. You can either use a square, but most people who are starting woodworking won't necessarily have one. But what you can do is, if you've got a panel saw, these two faces here are a 90-degree, so you can line that up with your line, like so, and you can simply use a pencil and mark that line nice and clearly, and now we have a perfectly 90-degree line that we can cut across. The first step to this project was to mark everything out and cut it. Now I haven't shown you all the clips of me cutting everything out here, but you can get the idea after a few clips. If you have a jigsaw or a bandsaw, it will be a lot quicker, but I was using a panel saw here to show that you can do it by hand as well. With all of the cutting done for the bird box, we're now going to move on to drilling the hole for the bird and also drilling some air holes on the bottom. Now we've chosen to make this bird box for sparrows, so we needed a 32mm hole in its diameter, which is what I've drilled on this one. And we're going to make another one exactly the same as this, so it's going to be identical in every way. And then after that we'll move on to putting the roofing felt on with some nails, and then we'll add 2 screws to stop squirrels and other animals being able to lift the box up. Now you could just put 1 screw. I've put 2 on this one, but I think I'll only put 1 on the other one, as it doesn't need to be particularly strong, it's just to stop animals lifting up. And then when you need to clean the box, you can just undo those 2 screws and clean out any rubbish that's in the box. So we'll now move on to drilling all of the holes into this. So let's get going with that. So me and my brother decided to do this project by me showing my brother how to use something, and then he had a go himself, which worked quite well and was a good way to get him involved in making his own bird box. Now as you can see here, I used a 32mm hole saw to cut out the front bird box hole, and then I used a 12mm hole to cut the aeration holes in the bottom of the bird box. I then sanded all the holes to make them nice and clean, and then I moved on to screwing everything together. I used a 3.5mm drill bit to drill some pilot holes, and then used some 4mm screws to drill it all together. Now this project is much easier with screws and a drill because it allows you to be able to take it apart if you ever want to really get a deep clean into it, but you could of course just do this with a hammer and some nails if you don't have access to a drill. Both work, and both the tried and tested methods to assemble things with. So a couple of the pieces didn't fit perfectly on the bottom, there was just a little bit of a wobble. Now there's absolutely no need to use a plane here, it really doesn't matter, it's going to be outside, it doesn't matter if it has a few little bits that are a bit higher. but I was a bit of a perfectionist with this, so I decided to come back with the plane and clean it up. Now there's a couple of options of what you can use for the roof of your birdhouse. The first option is roofing felt. Now this is what we're going to be using because we've got two rolls of it. There was a roll here when we moved into the house, and there was also a roll from our last house from the shed, so we've decided to use that, but you could of course use other options such as AstroTurf. If you happen to have any samples, you can just get these samples fairly easily online, and you could use something like that. But we're just going to use simple roofing felt. It's nice and strong, it's rubberized, it works really well, and it also allows for a flap for the bird box to be able to open and close, and that's really essential for a bird box to be able to clean it. Now unfortunately the roofing nails I had were 25mm and the piece of timber I was using was 18mm, so I had to sand off the nails and put a new point on them, but that's easy enough to do, but my tip would be just buy the right size nails for the project. I then put all the roofing felt on and added a screw to the top of it, which allowed easy access and stopped animals getting into it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. We've made two really awesome bird boxes here, and we're going to go and put them up somewhere in a tree now. I've really enjoyed this project. It's been great to get my brother out in the workshop who doesn't do a lot of woodworking, and I think he did a really good job. I didn't really help him very much with it. I just showed him how to use the saw and things like that, but he's done a really nice job. So I think we've got two really good bird boxes that are going to look really nice when they're up in a tree. If you have a go at making this project, send me some photos. Either send them by email, so designandmakeyt@gmail.com, or you can just DM me on Instagram, and that's just designandmakeyt. As I said, I got the plans from the RSPB, so I'll link those down below. I've adapted them ever so slightly. It's about 5mm wider, and a couple of the pieces are a little bit longer, but apart from that, it's pretty much identical to the RSPB one. And I can see why they like those sizes. It's a really nice size, and it looks really good when it's all done. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.